Hi, it's Philip again. We're going to continue with our video series that we've been doing, but this time we're going to move on to doing tips and tricks about bits with computers. This isn't really aimed at the super techie side of the market. These tips and tricks are designed for people that aren't tech savvy, just to give them a little bit more insight in how their devices work. And today I've decided we're going to start off with just simple things like how to keep safe online. Now, provided I've managed to edit this video properly, there'll be some screenshots coming that I might do some separate voiceover for. And then from there, we will work through and go through all the bits and pieces to keep safe. Okay, so one of the first places where it's important to keep safe online, especially if you haven't grown up around computers, is with your emails. We, on a regular basis, will get phone calls from concerned customers worried about their emails. They will often say they hate to bother us, but that's actually exactly the right thing they should be doing. If ever you are uncertain about an email you've received, do not click the links in the email. In fact, whenever possible, I would advise staying away from clicking links in emails altogether. There are lots of scams you're going to get in your emails. Now, a lot of these will look like Microsoft emailing you, telling you you've got to enter your password again, otherwise they're going to lock you out of your account. Microsoft will never email you. In fact, no company will ever email you asking to type your password in. They might email you asking you to change your password, but they will never email you asking you to confirm your password. That is the first red flag of a scam. Now, this particular scam, much like all the others, can be relatively simple to spot. The first thing we do is we read the email address of who sent the email. Now, the Microsoft ones are granted a little bit harder to spot because what people will do is they will register a new internet domain name, a new website name. It could be support.com, and then they will put what we call a subdomain on and attach the word Microsoft to it. So when you read it, it looks like a genuine email. However, most of the time, these emails will have come from random people that you've never heard of, and they don't look like anything like the company that they're purporting to be. Another way to spot the scams is to look at the imagery in the emails. Quite often, if there's a picture in the email signature, it won't be quite right. It might be slightly fuzzy because they basically pinched a picture off the internet that isn't high enough resolution, or it could just be distorted or the logo doesn't run. But the most important thing to do is, again, in the case of a Microsoft email, if Microsoft asks you to click a link to confirm your account, no. All of these messages will be available to you inside your notification center. And in that notification center, you will know if it's genuine or not. So the best thing to do is close the email, open up a fresh browser window and sign into your Microsoft account. In this case, it could be eBay, it could be Amazon, it could be any company you deal with. And then look at your notifications to see if the same message has been replicated there. But never, ever click the link. The reason why I say don't ever click the link is it's not uncommon for you to click the link, you go to a page that looks like it's the genuine article, and it's not. It's hosted somewhere else, it's held by the hackers who want to gain access to your details, and you just type in all your personal information, giving it all away straight away. Now, I'm going to throw a picture up in a second with some videos on it, and I'm going to talk over it now, and hopefully I can get the two to line up. Okay, so what we've got on the screen right now is an example of a dodgy email. Now, you can see from the email body itself, it looks totally genuine. In fact, the images actually look right on this one, so they found decent images to try and get it. But again, it's asking for somebody to enter their password to keep their account, as opposed to asking them to change their password or sign into their account to keep into it. If I look at the link, the link looks like it doesn't even go to the right website address, which is another big red flag, because it's clearly taking me off to a different server than the servers that host the service that this email is referring to. So what I'm also going to do now is go up to the top of the email and look at where the email's from. Now, sometimes the email will just say a name, but if you right click on that, you can then click on show contact details and it will show you the whole email address. And as you can see in this case, this email has not come from a genuine source, which means it's definitely a scam. This sort of scam is quite common for Microsoft, because it's so prevalent in the business community and people with OneDrive accounts. In fact, it's common with all the cloud services. It's also common with services such as Amazon or eBay. PayPal seems to be a really popular one. And this isn't the fault of the companies, because the companies aren't making these emails. The companies cannot be held responsible for this. This is a good old-fashioned scam, like when someone used to knock on your door and say you something you really didn't want, and I think it's called a grift, you at the doorstep. It's exactly what this is. It's just a digital version of doing it. In computing terms, we'll call this a phishing scam, because they're phishing for information, although it is spelled with a PH instead of an F. Other areas to look out for is when you go to website addresses. Now, this tip is not as reliable as other tips may be. Quite a while ago, the governing body for the internet, different governing bodies for the internet, introduced something called HTTPS. The S standing for secure. So when you go to our website, it should be a secure website and a verified website. You can tell this, but when you look at your address bar across the top of your browser, I'm going to put a screenshot up here to show you. You can see there's a little padlock. That means the website is a secure website, or apparently a secure website. The problem with this is I can go onto any website host right now and set up a secure website. Doesn't necessarily mean that my website isn't doing anything nefarious, and it doesn't mean that any of the links in my website aren't going to take you off elsewhere. So we need to be careful with what we're doing. One of the other areas we need to look at when we're looking at websites is advertising. Now, a lot of websites are very diligent in the advertisers that they allow to show adverts on their website. Other websites just rent out the space and put in a piece of code. I myself once bought a lightsaber off Facebook because it looked like a really good deal. The price didn't look too cheap, but it was cheaper than I could get it anywhere else. And 18 days later, when it turned up from Japan, it was actually a children's plastic toy worth about £5, not the £25 that I paid for it. And when I complained and wanted to return it, I was going to be recharged the shipping for it, which exceeded the value. So they got my money. I got a cheap child's toy I could have bought for £5 from any junk shop. So we need to be really careful about where we buy things from. Now, services such as Amazon and eBay do offer international shipping, and I would always use those services, their shipping services. Don't go third party. This also applies for if you're selling something online. If you're selling something online, use eBay's shipping service because it protects you as a seller as well as the person buying it. You do not want to go third party. Again, as a business, we've been hit by this. We sold rather an expensive printer. It was very heavy. It was advertised as collection only, and we were persuaded to allow the guy to arrange for his own courier. His own courier damaged the printer in transit and then refused to stump up the insurance money that the customer had paid for, at which point we were made liable for the refund and ended up with no printer and taking a massive loss. So even if you know what you're doing, you can be hit. So this is why it's really, really important to not rush through things when we're buying or selling online. It's just important to make sure that we know it's a reputable website. We try to look at reviews for the website. We understand whether or not we've bought anything before. Because if you've bought something from before, you've already been able to develop your own level of trust. If you're really uncertain about a vendor, and this is a method I use for parts for my motorcycles, I will buy a cheap component of £5–10 that I want from the vendor, see how well that performs before I look at spending a larger amount of money with that vendor and I will let the relationship build, and make my own informed decision from there. But never ever go out and spend a fortune from a website you've never heard. I mean, if a deal on the internet seems too good to be true, it usually is. That's the problem. It's so easy to have something look genuine and it not be. So it's just excellent to be diligent. The other cool thing you can do as well is you make sure you've got decent security software. For example, the product that we offer to our customers comes with a feature where it will detect a known scam website. So if you inadvertently click on a link and go to a website that is a scam, it's in the database, the software will stop you from being able to access it. So again, genius information. Other bits and tips come on a slightly more morbid route. Your accounts that you use, such as your Facebook account, your Microsoft account, whichever email account you're using, all the different services on your account, most of these actually offer a service for you to put your next of kin in. This is incredibly important for when it's going to happen to all of us in the end when we die. But this is because if your account can't be closed down by your loved ones, you will continue, or you will continue to see social media posts. I see this with a friend and neighbour who passed away from breast cancer. Every now and again, I will see her account post a social media post, and she's been dead quite some time, so it clearly isn't genuine. And eventually, what was a secure password will become an insecure password. So these old dormant accounts will eventually be open to being hacked, no matter how secure they are right now. So it's really, really important to have an accurate and up-to-date list of all your credentials, ideally kept in a book on a piece of paper. Don't store it on the computer, because if your computer gets hacked, there's all your information gone again. Keep a hard copy and basically put it in your next of kin pack. So should anything adverse happen to you, your next of kin won't have to go on social media and see you post a message in 2 years' time after you've passed away. So a little bit morbid, but just something else to think of. That's kind of it for the quick tips. The most important things you can do as an overview of all of this is make sure you have up-to-date and decent security software on your machine. And also, if you're concerned about something, just phone us. We will be happy to answer your call and offer advice and tell you whether or not we believe a link is safe or not, and just give you that reassurance that you need to make sure everything we're doing online is safe and you're not putting yourself at risk. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Till next time.